In today's video, I hope to be able to show you the advantages of finding exactly the right place to stand. From this viewpoint here, I can actually get 1, 2, 3, 4 compositions, and I can easily swing between each one whenever the light works best for each composition. Now it's very cloudy, as you can see. And it's very windy. And that means those moving clouds and the setting sun over there is going to splash scattered light in a variety of locations around here. Well, at least that's what I hope. When I came out here earlier, all of those beautiful green hills. Now it's mid-April now, and the greens are starting to come out. This is a beautiful time here in Slovenia, especially on these forested hills. There are a myriad of shades of green. There's some really interesting cloud action going on over there above Storžič, which you can see from here. You can see Storžič, you can see Gruntovec, and over there, further over there, you can see Ojstrica. So many peaks I never remember the names. And there you can see Smugmug. So it's great to be able to sort of pan around and choose which mountain peak you want to photograph and which is actually the most interesting at the time. The sun is setting over there. It's in and out of some thick clouds, and it's casting some beautiful colour, some really interesting colour over this way, and some really interesting cloud action going on over the mountain peaks too. Gruntovec is not really, it's just about visible, but there's not really much light falling on it. Whereas at the moment, Storžič has some really nice layered misty cloud and some colour over it, so it's the most interesting peak at the moment. As the clouds are so scattered, there's little droplets of rain appearing. Obviously it's raining in certain areas and the wind is carrying the rain sometimes. And for that reason you have to always keep an eye on the lens, or in my case on the polarizer on the front, to make sure it hasn't got any rain droplets on it. And this is actually a good example of how the conditions can dictate your composition. This is a tricky composition of Storžič here because there are some cables, some electrical cables right down in the bottom of the composition. So in order to get those out, you have to come up quite high. From this position, you can get Storžič in, but it's very, very low in the frame. And when there's not much interest in the sky itself, then you've got a lot of sky and only a little bit of the mountains, and it doesn't really always work so well. But with all this beautiful thick cloud, and the cloud layering over the mountain peak itself, so actually the mountain peak itself is not completely visible, and you've got some nice layered cloud over that mountain peak, and really nice thick interesting cloud and colour throughout the rest of the composition. So in that case it actually makes the composition work much better, I think. Now all I need is a bit more light. The sun has gone behind a thick bank of cloud over there, but it's fairly scattered, so there's still a chance, before it goes down over the mountains, there's still a chance that the sun might break through and give me some light, hopefully streaking across those forested hillsides of Smugmug and the forested hillsides over there, and hopefully some colour to go with it too. But When it's like this, you never know. The cloud's scattered, but also the cloud is very thick, and the cloud over on the horizon is very thick too. So as the sun goes down, often what can happen is it can go behind a really thick bank of cloud, and that's it. You get no colour, you get no light, you get nothing. Or it can break through. Sometimes there can be no cloud just below the horizon, and what will happen is that as the sun dips down underneath that cloud, suddenly there'll be an explosion of light in across all these clouds. That's happened many times. So all you can do is wait and see. Well, it looks like it's staying grey now. I mean, sod's law, when I came out here, as I walked out here, all of these green forested hills around here were glowing the most vivid green imaginable. The light was pouring through those clouds, falling directly on it. It was majestic, beautiful. And as soon as I got set up, it had gone, of course, and as much as I hoped it will come back, it doesn't seem to be. I'm pretty sure now the sun has gone down behind the hills. It's not quite the point of sunset, it's maybe 10 minutes away, but it's certainly gone down behind those hills over there now. There's a thick bank of cloud over there, and certainly none of the light is getting through right now. A miracle may happen in the next 10-15 minutes. We'll wait and see, but I don't have much hope, to be honest. Still, I got some nice moody shots of that cloud over Storžič, so if we don't get anything else, we'll certainly head into the digital darkroom and take a look at those photos and see what we can do with them. There's not even any colour over there where the sun's gone down, and that's usually an indication. If there's no colour where the sun has gone down, then usually that cloud really is very thick, because if not, all of that cloud would be lit up. Even if it wasn't breaking through the cloud over there, all of that usually would be really vivid red where the sun has actually gone down over those hills there, and even that, barely any colour is breaking through there. So that is an indication that that cloud layer across that western horizon is very thick, and it certainly doesn't look like the light is going to break through it. So as an indication, I'll show you through the camera here, a close-up view. There is some nice kind of soft light, soft color over there, but it's nothing spectacular. And you know, there's some hills there which give you a bit of interest in the composition, but it's really not that great, to be honest. But as you can see through the viewfinder, that is where the sun has gone down, and so the fact that the color there is really soft and it's not flaming red is an indication that the cloud is so thick that it's not breaking through. So I don't have much hope for the rest of the scene either. Still some interesting cloud over Storžič. Now, as I said, there's no light coming through really, and there's not much color. So one little trick you can use, now I call it a trick, but you know, this is something that's always been done. Even in the days of film, the photographer would put a warm-up filter on the front of the lens to warm up and bring out the reds and the orange of the sunset or the golden hour time, or sunrise even. But with digital, we don't need to do that. We can just adjust the white balance. So what I've done now is I've flicked my white balance to shady to warm up the scene a bit more over Storžič and give us a mild illusion of some colour, you could say. But there is some colour there. There is some kind of orangey red glow there. It's not that vivid. So the warm up, I would say the cloudy white balance acts as a warm up filter in this case. So there's a really useful tip for you. It's really interesting how the cloud is swirling around the mountainside like this, creating some lovely shapes and texture. It's always worth sticking around an extra 5 minutes because you never know what's going to happen. I actually think this is the most interesting part of the evening, and definitely going to be the best shot, I think. Another minute or two, hopefully I'll get a 15 or a 30 second. That's some great long exposures there, so We really got something to look at. So let's go to the computer now and check out some of these photos. So here we are, and out of all of the long exposures that I captured, I've selected this one as my favorite, simply because I love the way the cloud is streaking around here, but still revealing some of the mountaintop. Now the one I took before, there was much more cloud streaking over, but it's obscured the peak too much in my opinion. We've got another one here as well that comes over, and another one here where it cleared a bit more. So I think I like this one the best out of all of the long exposures. Now you can see the difference just in the raw previews here. When I switched from daylight white balance to my warmer cloudy white balance, you can immediately see the difference how it's warmed it up, and then as it got darker it gave some really nice, much warmer, nicer colors, more interesting. So it's a really useful thing to be able to flick your white balance and use it as a warm-up filter and not have to stick another filter on the end of your camera like you used to have to in the film days. Now you can see here, as I said, the problem with this position and this composition is that you've got the electrical cables in the frame, which is a shame really. Now in the preview you're seeing the whole aspect ratio, but this is not actually how I shot it in camera. I shot it in a 16:9, so we'll see that when we open it into Photoshop it will be in the 16:9 aspect ratio. So here it is. Yeah, so now you can see that it's the 16:9 aspect ratio. Now I could recover that if I wanted to. It's possible with the Canon software, but although it's really nice, all the cloud up here, it would be nice if these trees, the top of the building and the rest of these cables weren't in the way. Then maybe we could have a good composition, but because of that it needs to be a 16:9. Now I could crop it here, then I think that's too much sky. It's out of balance really. So I much prefer this aspect ratio, to be honest. Now you can see here at the bottom, although when it's extremely dark looking through that viewfinder in the distance, it was hard to actually see. I thought I'd pulled my composition up to above this cable, but it appears that I haven't. But it's not such a bad thing, because overall the composition is really good. I really like this touch of cloud here, some really nice cloud action around here. Now there are two things I could do with this. So the first thing I'll look at is I'll go to my geometry panel here in Adobe Camera Raw, and I could crop it or I could scale it. So I could scale it up to take it out. So that's one option, but the problem there is I've lost that nice bit of cloud at the top there, so I don't like that. I'm going to take that down. Now again, I can come up to my crop tool, and if I want to I could crop it, so I can come in a bit here and crop it. See how that looks. So that's actually good. I think that's a good example, but I'm going to do one other thing. I'm going to show you a great tool within Photoshop, how we can very easily get rid of that. So I'm going to take that back to its original as shot. I'm going to keep that there. Now we can clone it out. We have the clone tool in Photoshop, but that's actually quite laborious. So I'm going to show you a really good tool how we can easily get rid of that. First, let's do the processing here in Adobe Camera Raw. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my blacks up to here. I'm going to take the whites up just a touch, 25 I think. Add a touch of contrast. Now I don't think we need the highlights tool, or maybe just a touch for here. This bit of sky here is a bit too bright, so if we have that on 0, I can take that down just a touch for the sky there. Touch of vibrance. Some lovely purple colours here in this image. It's really nice. I like it. There we go. I can touch a vibe. I can try a touch of dehaze, because it was cloudy, a bit hazy, but I don't think it's going to, we need that. No, it's darkening it down too much, so I'm going to take that down. We can look at the texture button. Let's zoom in, see if we can add a bit of texture to those mountain sides, a bit of clarity. Now you can see, if we look at those mountain peaks, it's not quite super sharp. Now if we go over here, it's a bit better. Now I don't think this is down to camera shake. It was a bit windy, but I think it's more down to the atmospherics, and it's not like it's complete, there's no blur there really. It's more, I think, down to visibility. There's this common misconception, I think, in photography, that you do everything right, you've got the greatest lens, you've got everything nice and stable, everything nice and sharp, you've got a perfectly sharp image. But what you can't control are the atmospherics. Now obviously there's a lot of moisture around here, there's a lot of cloud, and what's happening here, I think it's actually the atmospherics itself is causing this to be slightly, I wouldn't say even blurry really. It's soft, it's not really sharp. So, but when you look at it in this respect, when you look at it like this, and if you think that if someone is going to print this really big, they're not going to go right up close and inspect every little detail. Most people are going to view a big print of this from further back. So in that respect, it doesn't have to be super 100% sharp, but it is sharp enough, so it's okay. Now, one other advantage to shooting in RAW is that although we set the white balance in camera, we could still do some more adjustments here to it. So I can take this up to shady if I want and add a bit more red, and then I can even take this button up and down to adjust the color temperature, and then we can always take it back to as shot. So if I take it up more, I'm adding more red here, but I don't like that. I actually like it how I shot. I like a touch of blue, purple, a tinge of red, but not too much in this case. So I think as I've shot it works well, but you have that flexibility to adjust the color temperature within Adobe Camera Raw. So this is another reason to always photograph in RAW. So now that's done, I'm going to open that into Photoshop. There we are. And the first thing I'm going to do is look at this. So, as I said, we can clone it out, but that's going to take time and it's laborious. The quickest way to do it is to select your rectangular marquee tool. Now we want to come down here and select this area down here. Now this is going to work well because there's not a massive amount of detail, so we can give it a try. If it doesn't work, we can always crop it again, but it's always worth a try. So now I've selected it. If I right click, if I come down into the tool here and I right click, I go to fill, and here in the contents select content aware. Make sure color adaptation is selected, normal. I want 100% opacity. Now I can click this, and with the magic of Photoshop, hopefully it will erase that electrical cable quickly and effectively. If it doesn't, we can always undo it. And there you go. Magic. Now, of course, when this is done, you want to go in and just scrutinize everything up close to make sure everything looks good and natural. It doesn't look odd. It seems to have worked very well. Perfect. So that's done a perfect job of getting rid of that, and now here is my image. I didn't need to crop it. Now I just make a few final adjustments. I'll check my highlights in Photoshop. Now, as I've said before, I often think that doing the adjustments here in Photoshop does a better job. You can have much finer control over it. So as I said, I want to darken down these bits of the sky here a touch, but without darkening too much of this. and so that's worked better by doing it here in Photoshop, by using the radius tool, making a large radius so I can control how much I darken, and I don't that the tool is not too aggressive. Actually, it's a bit too aggressive in Adobe Camera Raw. So that's worked. That's allowed me to tweak down that brightness of the sky just a touch. That's perfect. I don't think we need any curves. I think it looks fine the way it is, but we can see how it goes. Actually that's worked. I think that's worked quite well now. There we go. It's brought out the definition here in the cloud. So it's always good to try these things. Yep, I think that's worked nicely. Just a touch has brought out the definition there in those clouds. So that's perfect. So that's my image done. I can save it as a TIFF, and that's it. I'll now keyword my image, like always. As I said, it's always good to do this in Photoshop, because then it's easy to import it into all the places that you upload it to, whether you upload it to Flickr, the pods, to the stock agency. It's always good to do that. So there you go. That's got everything I need. Now I'll check for dust spots, the most important part and the most laborious part, but it has to be done. And also, in a long exposure like this, when you've done a long exposure and it's very, very dark, you often get these hot pixels, as you can see here. So you really have to scrutinize an image like this, because you often find there's these little hot pixels which could be easy to miss if you're not careful. See the red one there and the cyan one there. So it's very, very important to go through and make sure you get all of these. So this is the most laborious part, but it has to be done. That's done. Final save. And now I'll convert that to 8 bits. Convert the profile to sRGB to save my JPEG. The reason I saved the JPEG in sRGB is that when I upload the JPEG to my pod sites or websites, basically anything that's displayed on the website needs to be in sRGB. If you upload it in Adobe RGB, then the colors look faded on the screen, so it doesn't look good. So I always do this with my JPEGs and upload them that way, but I always keep the TIFF in Adobe RGB, so if I need to do a higher quality print, or the printer wants an Adobe RGB version, I can easily supply that. So that's done. That's my finished image. I'm really pleased with that. That's definitely the best image of the evening. So what will I do with this? Well, it's definitely an image that can be sold as wall art. So it will go up on my Smugmug, on my Fine Art America and various wall art sites like that. And I'll also put this one up on social media. So I'll show you now how I prepare my images for social media. I have already down here an action saved, saving for Facebook. Now the first action saves it at 2048 pixels, so I'll do that manually just to show you. So what I do is I resize the long side, in this case the width, to 2048. The rest of the actions I make a text layer. So what I do here is I put my website and copyright on there. So here I put my website and a copyright sign on there. So many people want to splash a great big watermark across your image, so they think that no one's going to steal it. Well, the problem when you do that is that no one can really see your image. And if you're trying to sell your images, people want to be able to clearly see your image. So there's no point splashing a great big watermark over it so they can't see it properly. They'll just be put off. If someone's going to steal your image, they're going to steal it, even if you put the watermark on it. The experts will know how to get rid of the watermark, first of all. But second of all, if you upload a low-res image like this, yeah, maybe someone can make a small print. They'll steal it for their website or something like that, where you can't stop that unless you find it yourself. But, you know, On the opposite side, if you do everything like splash a great big watermark across it, yeah, you may stop people stealing it, but you're also going to put people off from buying it. So you're inhibiting your own sales in this respect. So all I do is just put this small watermark here. So all I do is I put this here. So if someone does find this on the web, if someone shares this on their blog, okay, fine, they shared it on their blog. But if my watermark is on there, then anyone who sees it is going to see my website. So if they do like it, they might hop along to my website. So, but also a picture buyer may want to download a low-res example to put it into a layout, for example. Often what happens is that if someone is trying to do a layout for an article, a magazine, or a commercial layout for an advert, things like that, they may take a whole bunch of photos and do several different mock layouts. And then they may take that obviously to their director and they will discuss which one they like the best. And if they choose your image, then they're going to come back to you for a high-res version. So if I put just a small watermark with my website there, it always reminds people where they got that image, because the last thing you want is they take your image and then they decide they want it and then they can't remember where they got it. So it's good enough to put that up there. So it clearly states that this is your image. It promotes your website as such and also helps people track the image back to you if they want to buy a high-res version. So that's what I do. So I put that up there. I flatten the image because it's a layer, and then I save it. So this is all set to automatically save into a folder for Facebook photos. So I'll continue that, save it into my Facebook folder. If you're familiar with Facebook, if you have a Facebook page, then you also have access to this Meta Business Suite. And if it's connected to your Instagram, you can also upload and create a post that will go out to both Facebook, your Facebook page, and your Instagram page, which is quite useful. So I just come in here and I create a post, and I'll put this up on both Instagram and my Facebook page. So here, up here, post to, so I can select one or both. So in this case I've selected my Facebook and my Instagram page. I'm going to add the photo, so I'll click and upload that. Now if you want to, you can switch this button and customize the post text for you individually, or you can switch this off and just write some text for both. So that's really handy actually. So here I can just put something like lovely sunset over Mount Storžič the other night. We can do more, but I'm not gonna, that's enough, quite frankly. And down here I can choose to publish now, or I can choose to schedule it. So that's really handy. You can also look at this, actually, this is quite handy. Optimal times. So Facebook will tell you the optimal times, and Facebook will suggest today 8 o'clock. So actually I might do that. I'll select that 8 o'clock. And same today, 10 o'clock I think is a bit too late. So I'll change that to 8 o'clock. So I'll publish them both at 8 o'clock tonight. Save that and click schedule. Now that's scheduled and that will upload. And that will go live at 8 o'clock this evening. So I'll add this to my Smugmug Mountains gallery and it will go immediately up for sale there. Okay, simply click that to upload, and the same here for Fine Art America. Upload the image to Fine Art America. There we go. That's done in Smugmug. Now, because that's embedded in the image, it's imported my title, my caption, and all my keywords for me. Same here, Fine Art America. Now all I need to do is add that to my general folder, as always, and to my mountain folder, mountains, and submit. That's now up for sale. If I go to my personal pixels page, which is where I will send everyone, because if I send them to I can send them to my profile on Fine Art America, but they can also see other people's pictures. I don't want them doing that, so I want to send people to my official website here, so they will only see my photos. That's now for sale there. So what I can also do is highlight and copy this URL here, and then go back to that the meta. So if I go back business.facebook.com, go to my posts and stories, here I can go to scheduled. These are the two I've got scheduled, and now there's no point putting a link on Instagram because you can't click them, but you can put a link in your description within Facebook, your Facebook post. So I can come here and simply edit that and then add buyer print here and paste that URL in. So now I've got that there. Now when that goes live, it will also go live with a link to where people can purchase that image on Fine Art America. Click save and that's done. Now that's updated. Simple as that. So there you have it. I took you through the photo shoot itself and then the editing process, and then putting it up for sale, and also promoting it on Facebook and Instagram. So I hope you found this useful as always, and if you did, please give this video a like. If you're not subscribed, I'd be really grateful if you subscribe and hit that notifications bell to make sure that you get notified about all my future videos. And please go check out some of my older videos too. Okay, thanks for watching and catch you later. Bye bye.